this stuff live. Take away helps me get away with all the shyness. Like I'm a person that I'm not a person that I'm outgoing, but I'm outgoing and then I'm laid back. I can stay inside. I can go outside. Don't really care. As long as I get what I get done, done, or what I need to get done, done. But if I just go on live, well, not really live, but just like saying, there's a lot of fake stuff on the internet. And I'm just trying to prove that I'm not one of the fake ones, and I try to put out products that like people know when they buy it, it's gonna be it's gonna be right. It's not gonna be something bunk or anything like that. So like that's why I'm really doing on top of any other reason why I do these videos. Otherwise, I wouldn't do these videos at all. I don't like. I mean, attention. I really don't care for it, but sometimes I mean this is how people are doing it these days. If you're not willing to go out there and try to do something different to make some money, it's you're not really trying to do anything at all because that's how things mostly happen from people doing things different from what other people do, and that's 9 times out of 10 it works. I mean, it works out sometimes. I mean, it's hit or miss just like everything else. But this is the Unity level letter. I really do it justice every time I pop it up here. Like I always show something that's like in the process, or even like the last video that I showed with Unity, like there was it's not as good as what Unity could put out, and I keep on doing stuff. They're like, man, I can't put that out because it's not a thing that like I'm trying to. I care about somebody stealing or anything like that, dude. But like, it's just the fact that like, let's see if this idea that's unique. That's why I stopped showing games because I can't like I show it as it's one thing that Unity you can produce a game pretty fast, but you can really produce a game and it's not knocking Unity. Unreal you can produce a game super fast, like without I mean even with templates. You can alter templates and come up with a game so fast that like it's not a so somebody can steal your concept. I mean all you have to do is get online. Now, if you're I need a game design. You can't think of one. Start looking at games online, and they'd be like, well, and I go through a lot of games. I watch a lot of videos to determine if I'm doing something like somebody else, and make sure I'm not doing something like somebody else. Because like there's patents and other things that go on with games that like, and then some of them were enforced and some of them were not. So I'm like. I mean, you just go online and look. You'll see plenty of games, people making games as they make it, and then but somebody can snatch the idea real quick. Not saying that I have any special idea, but like I mean, art style or any like anything play off of anything. Not that I care anybody plays off my ideas, but at least let me get my idea out. So that's the let me try to make something off my idea. So like if I'm not doing something that's not unique or it ain't been done before. I mean, not saying I am, but at least it gives a try to like I'm not like I said I keep on coming up with stuff and like man I'm putting this stuff out there and I'm showing it as I'm doing it. If somebody else can use it, they can reconcept it pretty fast and Unreal, especially when I'm using. I mean, I can do stuff pretty fast in Unreal. I know myself just because blueprints, scripting and stuff. I mean, blueprints, it ain't gonna work. If you plug something into something, it's not gonna work. Scripting, it'll work, and then sometimes it'll get to a point where you start throwing other stuff in, and then it'll break. You never know until that point where they have the threshold that you put a script in. The next thing you might add to it might break the system, or to add something you might have to do this to that in order to get this to work and function right. So I mean, that's what I like about Unity, the troubleshooting and problem solving parts about it. Like there's a lot more troubleshooting with. I mean, but it's still the same route. You still got to do the same thing. It's still you can set up a player controller, and it's the same code you're gonna use the next time, or it's where you can recycle the same code. You don't have to really. Me, I make it every time from scratch, and so I keep it. I learn it because I learned code on my own. I didn't get taught it, so I mean it's kind of rough. I use a lot of public floats, public fields, instead of like serializing stuff that I probably should, but like it's quick concept and make it public, see if it works, then hard code it in. Or when I get like you're gonna need another, another system's gonna have to be used with it, so I'll put a public field out there. Or like I'll make some code that I'll use just to get it temporarily working, and I know that I'm later on I'm gonna add this to it, something else, just something that might be, you never know what you're gonna add to the game. So, but individually, like I like try to make everything to like function on its own, not something have it, it's dependent on something else. I want my camera dependent on, the player, or the player dependent on the camera. I just want the camera to be able to, its own functioning thing, and the player to be its own functioning thing, and that the game engine knows it's there and where to use it. That's pretty much what I do with stuff. Like I mean, just like even first like a few tips like. Go ahead and create an object, a simple world. Doesn't have to be anything real. I shouldn't do it this way. You always need a title screen. I'm using. We can first start off. You want to start off with your build settings. You sure already done this prior to loading and starting up the game engine. You determine the build right there when you decide the level. I think this one is for Mac, Windows, Linux. You can change it, but then you might not have some of the API or what are go to the player settings and the project settings. All this stuff you want to set up prior. All the stuff you want to set up first. You want to make sure, or you're doing something in this order, especially with if you're using HDRP. Depending on what render pipeline you're using, you got to go in here. You got to mess around with this stuff. Or even with Unreal, you have to go in and decide what you can. I mean, all the settings you want to go through and try and mess and set up the world settings. You got to set the world settings first before you even use anything. And then if you're using 2D or anything else, and make sure there's Windows. If there's two Windows, you got the Windows Universal. You got Windows. This is basically, your computer, and it's most likely gonna run most computers. You want to make sure all this is correct. You got the correct. If you put any codes in or any I guess try to there's a way you can lock this to put a code on it. I can't think where there's so many different things. You got your company, your splash icons, all this stuff. You can set all this stuff up first. Me, I normally skip that because I haven't come up with the idea yet for the company, any company logos or anything like that. It tells you all your size and texture resolutions that it should be. But you set all this stuff first. You want the graphics, the input, which is using both the new Unity input and the old Unity input. just because I mean I do that just because it's quicker to concept. I know the old Unity input, and I know the new Unity input, but I don't have it all. I don't have it all memorized. I can't like sometimes I gotta go back and look. Let's a quick reference to go online and go on YouTube and look and see real quick. I try to keep this computer offline because it's a rental, and I don't even really know if it's really offline. So, like, I mean, I disabled the devices, and I really still think it's still online. But, uh, but that's the other thing. I don't want to log on. I used to log on all the time to the API and the in Unity's website, and that's how I pretty much learned scripting. You go to the API, you look up everything's in the API for the scripting API and the manual. Anything you don't know is probably most likely in there. And the same thing is Unreal. Everything is like Unreal. If it's if it's both engines, both of them, you look in the game, look at their manuals or look at their API. It's extensive, and you can everything you can learn. Unity's went from simple model development to like a couple to like it didn't separate everything else all over the place. Now it's not like AI is in a separate part of the API when AI was part of the whole thing at first. Like all those little libraries, everything else, they're all broken up now. So you're using Unity Engine dot AI, you're using Unity Engine dot scene management, you're using Unity Engine dot editor, everything. Or there's a lot of different. It's all separated out. They keep adding more stuff, more functionality to the engine, and they keep on, I guess, advancing the API further and further from where a while ago it was real simple to now it's this complex, huge structure, but you got a lot more performance out of it. But I don't. You got your scenes folder. 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna change this name to start string. If you do use capitals, you don't have to do underscore. Use capitals, they'll separate it. See right up here, start screen. So you got a main camera, and then I'm gonna add to the main camera. Go to add the you need user interface. So the user interface is the canvas, and hello the event system. Now the event system, depending on whether or not this is all stuff you got. I mean, it's not trial and error, but stuff. If you're using the new Unity input, this event system right here is different from the event system you're gonna have to use for the new. If you're using standalone, just the new alone, not using both inputs, you gotta make sure that if you ever change it, you gotta change this event system around too, because it's gonna be the wrong event system for the new Unity input. So that's why you want to do that. That's what the input manager. One of the first things you want to do. It tells you all the these are all the well, I guess all the what they would call if you're going to access them in C sharp, all the what they call it I can't remember the damn name of the technical name of it, but all the names, these are the names of the controls. You got horizontal and vertical axes. That's your X and Y's. Fire one, fire two, fire three. You got mouse button one, mouse button two. I don't know what mouse. I don't fire three. I think it's space. Well, maybe space bar. Or no, jump space bar. So I guess it's left shift with it. No, I never used fire three, but mouse two, mouse one. What's fire one? Mouse zero. All right, so the middle mouse button is going to be, I guess, mouse your third fire input. So I'm thinking, well, there I guess there is like a mouse third button. It all depends on the mouse you have, the mouse input. Most computer games are keyboard and mouse. You want to use a joystick. The same thing. It has the codes and the API for it. You just have to access, access that part of the API when you go. You don't use Fire One. Those all have different names, and then different commands. You have to look it up. You have to look up the actual controller and see what it's equivalent of. It has a well, you get to watch the controls in a second, and they'll get into it. But either way, it's still the same thing. You're accessing it through what and it's C sharp with the with a variable and leaves all the variables for it pretty much. But I'm not saying it's really that simple. But you got canvas here. You're gonna add stuff to the canvas. I'm gonna add a button for a start button. I'm gonna import these things just because I want to see this the rest of the time playing around with this. Basically, Touch Mesh Pro is something that like I say added to it for I think to animate text. Maybe there was an issue with animating text or something. But they also have another UI editor. I don't know if I downloaded it. Your package manager is pretty much everything that you wanna. It's everything that they have packages in the game. Version control need to update. Timeline need to update. Text Mesh Pro needs to update. I'm not on the internet right now, so it doesn't really matter. And I mean, I can still use this and I can still update it to you. But I'm not online. But I don't know if it's still gonna update right. So I'll just go ahead and update it. Timeline, that's if we're doing like movie sequences. It's like your sequencer, like you got in Unreal. So I'm not doing instructional how to. I'm just not trying to like look like I'm a, there's good scam artists out there. And I hate being a scam artist. I hate looking like a scam artist. I don't like messing around with actually building game assets and everything else and animating. I've been doing since 2009. Got mine in 2009. And I've been using 3D applications ever since. And that's what this area right here. So I had a red market, not even had a game engine running. Nothing. Well, I meant, well, there's a circuit for packages, but it's not a. They're saying they're giving me an error because it can't search online. So it's not really an error. It's not going to stop it from the game from playing. It should be yellow. I don't know why I put some red one there. Oh, white information one. Well, it should be like an information one. Let's clear those off. Any other packages you need to add to it? There's all sorts of different tools that go in the in this package manager. Any other extra tools you need? It's all right here. Like they got 2D. We doing 2D game. There's 7 packages that they feel are essential for 2D, 3D character animations. This is for like if you want to add or do anything. This is equivalent to like almost like control rig in Unreal, where you can do the. It's less complicated. The control rig. It's a little bit faster than control rig, but you do their animations inside the engine instead of doing them. You know, you can skid it. You can bone and rig it and then pull it into here. You do your animation here or do alternate animations in here. But it has to be like a human biped character. It can't be. Well, I mean, no, it can be any type. You can use any type of character with that. It just if you're trying to use, there's a human IK that's in that goes along with the scripting. That if you don't have a biped set up with hands, the boning has to be correct. You got to have all the bones there. They have to have something representing all the bones there. And you got to have it in a T pose in order to use the human IK and actually use C sharp to rig it. They use their IK thing. So the IK, I mean, that's something how you're gonna line up animations with. It's how you're gonna check for the ground. Everything's. I mean, that's how like it's pretty much gonna build and it's really it's something you need to do with like some characters, depending on how you want how you're handling them with code or how they're animating and moving. And if they got to line up with anything, sometimes it's easier to have the IK say that like the IK is gonna be with this. It's like it's got to grab something like the main character's got to pick something up or anything else that has to align to something. You're gonna get the proper alignment. You're gonna be able to do things with the being rigged as a human, like humanoid biped, and using the IK. Otherwise, if you don't have it rigged as a humanoid biped, a humanoid you got like legacy, or you're using just a generic what they call a avatar. You can't you're not gonna be able to take advantage of the IK system that you will at point figure out you might need the IK system depending on what type of game you're making. As I said, I've done all sorts of from every type of game I've tried to build to try to not even been in and out with this engine. Just because I love it, like I said, I love the troubleshooting aspects of things. I like solving problems. I like being a problem, I like solving them. You got the world building packages. These things gotta be like if you're doing stuff like an open world. It might actually have Pro Builder inside here. AR kit for augmented reality, cinema studio. You gotta do some cinematics. I don't know what the engineering packages are. It's pretty much it's self-explanatory down the line. But these it would definitely you want definitely with the 2D because there's a like I said the sprite editor in the Photoshop exporter, those things you want if you're actually doing if you're doing 2D anime. If you're doing 2D, then it's a must. Like 2D and 3D character world, these two are a must. If you're doing AR or VR, those are a must. I mean, with some of these, like I said, some of these add-ons, you really don't need her. You know, there's it starts up with what you really need, and then depending on what 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 version of the render pipeline you're using. Like if I'm using high definition render pipeline, I need to download this package. And like if I'm using ECS or anything like that, I need to download these things. You know what I mean? But pretty much self-explanatory. I'm not using any of these because like I'm not. There's still. I still need to learn the rest of the coding for and using structs and everything and understanding that for I use entities because like that's the I was using it, but before it was just a drag and drop thing you could put on it. But like the thing is, with entities can only interact with other entities. So if it's not an entity and you're trying to use, you're throwing a whole world out there that are entities, and you got a game object with entities. Before, I don't know how it is now because I haven't really looked. Like I said, I needed that part. I just used it for the world. I wasn't using it for the characters. But then I was starting to learn entities where I was like, man, I need to hurry up and get a game out. And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna leave it alone for a second until I get a game out. But you can't. Game objects can't interact with entities. They don't. You can't. It just doesn't. There's two different things. They don't know how to communicate. And that's why I guess when the baking comes in and everything else, like you bake a game object into an entity. Because it's just, you know, it's a you gotta like you gotta say you go into the API into the book you into the website you learn and yeah search for package and see it and just pop the stereo up again. But so we'll go in here and go start. You know, my button audio options for the button over here. But I'm looking for the actual text. And this is what I want right here. I'll put start game. So I'm just gonna do like a little scene manager, man, just to make it pretty fast, empty. for right now. I'll set this for start button. That's as well. See, I got the scale. The scale is in and out. We change the aspect ratios. Free aspect. C10. And then that's the other thing when it comes to this. There's another option, and you want to make sure that the interface is scalable. There's things that pop up. There's so much stuff you remember, but like just because you had a problem before. They'll find somewhere. There's an option to do scene, code, level 1. The button's got to, I guess, it's part of what the event system is. It's going to have an on click. just like I said, the quick concept. I'm not really trying to get into anything like too complicated real fast. But most plus I don't really get into stuff really too complicated anyways. But scene manager, mood, scene, definitely for to know one. Or I still can't remember the damn name of that. That's oh dang, I can't remember what they call text because I can't remember what it is. But if you do the actual go at the scene name, put it in, you gotta put in quotation marks. If it's text, I can't remember the name, but like I know your first scenes, all your scenes are gonna be lined up. When you build settings, and open scenes, start scene. So this scene, and it shows the scene index right here, which is gonna be an in, which is start scene 0. Let go over here to save. I'm gonna go to the level, just save, save project, add scenes. So there's my one right there. Go back to my start screen. With the canvas, they pretty much anything I want to add to it, like a photo, it's all in here. And UI toolkit, I don't use it. I get, I mean, this is functional enough for me. I haven't had any issues with it yet. But I haven't, like also, I haven't had any issues yet. I haven't seen anybody say anything. I've done a lot of research where I haven't seen a lot of different issues. Just you get more use out of the UI. I mean, there's different ways. You even got there's outside UI builders that you can use to bring them in. Use those. I want an image. I could bring in an image if I wanted to. You also can link all your, like I said, all this. Go to your preferences, external tools, all this stuff. JDKs, that's the other thing. Find the proper JDK or SDKs, and for the build, that's going to be an issue. And if, like I said, this is an update. If I was online, but see, there's an issue right there. But I'll figure that out at some other point. That's something that when it comes to actually building it out, before I plan to build, then I have to make sure that I have the right JDK or SDKs in there. UI scaling, there you go. I think there's another issue with scaling it on Canvas. scale factor. And then you get different results depending on, I mean, with phone screens, computer screen I haven't had an issue with. Phone screens, you might want to check scale of screen, constant physical size. Just all depends. If you have to have, you really to do that, you want to plug the phone in, have it in developer mode, and have it play, you have to build, play to the phone while you're doing that, because otherwise it's not, you're not seeing what, actually how it's going to look, because it's different for, you know, for depending on what phone, it's kind of, it's different. So there's things that come into consideration with the UI and the actual game screen and camera and other stuff, everything when you're actually building the game out. But if I want an image, then I want to put this button over. Render. It's got a canvas render. It's not. I'm saying that. But also like even in the renderers, I didn't know if this was what type of renderer it was. I know it's that it didn't look like it said before, but like you can tell that there's a you can determine what renders in front of what depending on the layer. Like I guess the index. Either like zero would be like the middle ground, negative one would be behind that, one would be in front of that, two, three, four, five. And that's how you stack. That's in if you're using like 2D, anything 2D in here, the render by that index you can decide which way it's going to go, which way it'll stack. But like this back to the button. Oh, you can send messages to this it hasn't compiled that script yet, so that's not it. Like I said, just with a quick concept, so you know you're a bit, like I know I'm gonna add more to this user interface later, so, but let's get the start functionality, the simple start functionality first. Like, so one click, it's gonna load up. So if I go to thing, and play, and voila, my level's loaded. But to make sure that like, you know, it's CT, I'll save all this, go to level one, save, go back to full strings, make sure I got everything saved. Add a couple game objects. Wait there, wait there. Matter of fact, I'm just gonna go and back this off. I'm on level one, add a component, mesh, or game object, plane, go to land, back to the inspector. I try to make sure everything's at 000. Directional light 030 just is up separate from something. Main camera, I will put the 000 because it doesn't really matter. where it's at right now. It really matters at one time when the game starts, and it's at the right spot. I'm gonna scale the land up, start materials forward, pop material in there, raw materials base, or yeah, score base, drop it on in, back to here. Now it's edible. You change the world settings, or you had world volumes, but I haven't done it yet, and really it might not be needed because I'm not really trying to get all too technical. Just that's a lot of stuff. I mean, it's a lot of stuff to remember. But it's totally. I mean, then you have to go through it, and troubleshoot stuff. Then you get to something. I mean, it takes years. I mean, I've been on this thing for years to like it's. You think you want to have. In some ways, you want to start with if you're doing like open world. Yeah, I think it's open world. Am I starting with open world, or am I what type of game am I going to build? You want to have that basis in mind of what direction you want to go and how you want to implement it. And if it's not open world, you really don't want to use a terrain system. Not saying that and that's for any game engine. Like you don't want to use it. I mean, because it's just a whole bunch of stuff already put together that you might not need or might not even use. And you're using it to build an open world, and you don't need to use what you need to place actors on a mesh and build the world out from that. But not you don't need to have you know start off with thousands of polygons already. You're not even going to use them all. There's no reason. And then you can. I mean, there's ways. I mean, you can use it. I mean, depending on how. Even with if it's not an open world, if you're trying to give that illusion, you don't want to use the whole terrain. You don't want to use the whole terrain at all. You want to use just the parts of the terrain. So I mean, it's all depends on what game you're building and what you're trying to do. And if it was corridor, even if it's a corridor game, you don't need to build a terrain system. You need to build the models for the corridor. They got a thing called Pro Builder, which is perfect for going in there and using. You're building, blocking out level. The reason I don't use it is because I mean, it's faster. I got a faster UV workflow already set up that I do in Blender or outside applications than coming in here and unless I need like a quick prop that I know that it's like it's something that it's basic shapes and everything you want to keep it basic. All your you want to have your textures and everything handle all the detail and stuff. And then depending on what it is, but if it's just something basic, and then you got to think about how far it is away from the camera, how close is the character going to get to it ever. All that stuff comes into play when you're deciding the mesh and what type and how detailed the mesh is going to be, or how how many polygons we use in the mesh. texture on it and pop it off and pop it off in the atmosphere somewhere. You don't really need the all that all that high mesh detail. F to focus on the object. Skill one. Look at your camera. Camera is gonna be like the most important thing on top of the character. The camera in all its settings is gonna determine a lot of a lot of the rendering is determined by the camera. Like it's rendering way off in the distance right now. It don't really need to be some of it it all depends on the level. You got the scale what you're doing, everything's in meters. A person's most likely 2 meters high. So like this is at one. That's 1 meter. So 1.5 really. 2 meters is like 6 feet. So like 1.7 average. If I was gonna do that, but I mean that's without a character. If you want to judge scale or anything. So this would probably be where a character would be sitting at, where the eyes of the character would be sitting at. These are 3 meters high, or they're 6 meters high. And then like use another application like Maya, all that stuff. It has settings, or Blender. It has all the settings to match what you're trying to do. You can have it come in. You can have it blended into like if you're building in meters, or you can build stuff in meters, and inside of it, and it'll transfer over here depending on that. With FBX, make sure your FBX settings are right. If you're doing the waveform or OBJ export, then it shouldn't have to matter. If you're building in meters in Blender or something, it should transfer over to meters in the game engine. So yeah, so if it's at 1.7 meters high, so this is about height. These are 6 meters. This all depends. Like I said, that's the scale thing, the scale factor, the scale, the character, everything else. It's just to build this to see the functionality is actually switching from level to level. It's not. Back to the start screen, hit play. Got a little square picture back there to start into level 1. Then we got still issue. It wouldn't play if there issue with certain error, certain packages and that form spectrum. And then for some reason my I don't know why, but I just figured this out. You get all your analysis what profile is running the recording right now. I don't want recording and running the profile while it's running. It's one thing you don't want. Well, it's if it's doing a memory profile or a graphics profile while the game's running, it's I don't know how much performance drop or performance is gonna get, but doing doing graphics analysis while you're doing anything, it you'll take a performance hit. You're not gonna get your real performance out of what it's like why it's doing that, why it's automatically going to start recording. I have no clue, but it wasn't like that long ago. But now I just noticed it like a couple weeks ago that it was recording off the start. But that's a quick start into. I mean, like there's. I mean, not saying it's not really anything. Player control systems. And everything else. I mean, it's all about what type of game you want to build. You know, you don't want to parent. You don't want to parent this camera to the character. It depends. If you're making a top-down game, you can probably get away with it because you don't have to worry about one thing, and that's the collision. Like you have to worry about collision with if you parent this camera to a game object or to the player, because when the player rotates, it's going to rotate the camera and it's gonna follow the parent no matter what. Like, and it's just structured that it's gonna do what the parent does. So no matter what type of collision model, or if you have some sort of collision thing going on with it, it's not gonna listen to the collision on the child. It's gonna listen to the parent collision, and it's gonna rotate. But I mean, if you're going, it's gonna go through walls, everything else. You know, top down, or you got some sort of game where you got it backed off from the character. It's not in the world, moving through the world with the character. You can get away with just parenting it and not have to worry about it. But if you're doing it with like a top-down game, you want to build like a script or something. Or they got this thing called Cinema Machine, which is real good. I use Cinema Machine, but like it's still a lot more than. I mean, I don't know how much. I mean, it gets you a lot of performance. And a lot of stuff you can just do without, you can quick concept without having to worry about having to go in and write a whole bunch of code to get a camera manager. I don't need to write a camera manager, I got this right here. But that's also a whole bunch of stuff that's coming into your game. Is it necessary? Do you need all of it? I mean, if it's just simple camera movement, or you just need a simple follow camera, you go in and just put, what I do real quick, make a character cube. That's the other way to quick concept stuff, character cubes. In object, call it a cube, put it at 0, 0. Put it at 1.7. 0.5, 0.5. display. You got tag system. And usually default tags, like most common tags. Little game object, play empty, play start. Zero, zero, zero. And I'm lifted up above zero, zero, zero. Put it off the side just to make sure it works. No, it's anything special. This, that. You know you're gonna need speed, so you're gonna have. I'm gonna never use the public floats or public fields because that way I can see them in action as they go. And I mean, serialize it, I can serialize it, but I don't know if we're really gonna use them, and then how I'm gonna use them. You know, it's just in that fashion, just go public and just less words to write float, because I'm not gonna have it exposed. I see know it's working. If it, depending on what you're doing, if you know you're gonna change the speed of it, then like, you know, the speed's like dynamic or something. There's something you're gonna change about it as it goes in the game. Like a player gets hurt, it'll slow down. Other things like that. You know, some having the public so you can look at it and inspect it versus having to go like serialize it or anything. It just all depends. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not an expert super code, but it's not a good use speed. You need gravity. Well, this is gonna work just because. And then like camel case versus like the proper syntax for writing everything. I just make sure it's clean. Uh, Need a vector 3 for the start location. I need a player controller. simple setup, and it's not like I mean, if you're going to use depending on if you're using physics, the push side of it, or you're using using something this regular I don't know you're gonna just drive it with math. Or you're gonna have the animator drive it with the with animation and have the root control drive the character around. All the code is different for all that. Everything's different for all that. Actually, I'll put it back down. I'm gonna group all this. Player dedicated controller. Save that. No, it's like it's not like I'm a genius. I say I'm a genius. I've been doing this for, and then a lot of people tell you, you see me working. I've been doing this for a very, very long time. It doesn't just do it like that. And then I make sure every time I build it. You know, I always build a new one. I'll never use. I don't go and just drag and drop or use templates. I write my own stuff out. Like I make sure I know it. Like I don't like try to like I said. I'm not trying to be a scam artist or a cheat or anything like that. Mm, I'm awake. Response speed. could be another scheme with these things on the internet. People get headphones on, they're getting prompted. So easy. And then the time, that delta time, it smooths it out till it goes through, cause time in game and code is going in ticks. You got a couple different times, and you got stuff that depending on the update that goes, and stuff that goes on the frames after it renders, after physics goes on in the fixed update. But like they also added like a smooth delta time, so you can. Well, I mean that I can use smooth delta time because if it's somewhat, I mean, depending on how something was moving or something, then gravity equals 9.8 float down. Because it's a fake gravity. If it was say if it was a real character, a real person, there's things you can't, like I can't put I'm using a character controller. So everything, all the movement, everything determined by the character controller that's written by them. Otherwise, I have to write my own character controller. There's which involves. I mean, it's not that difficult. It just out of this, I don't want to sit here and write a slope equation for it. You have to do a couple raycasts. There's a couple things you don't have to do. They alleviates a lot of things by writing it without having to write a character controller in there. So you got your slope offset, the skin width, movement distance, the center, radius, all that stuff. I want to set up right now. That's pretty much right. 0, 0, 0, the character, not the world. You'll see what I do radius right there. And this also serves as a collision. So if all these, like I should have had put collision on it, oh, well, this guy lost the ladder. Yeah. So it'll collide with objects that won't, you won't walk through the wall. It should have a collider to you. Yeah, nice collider. So, it's different for like I said, depending on how you set up how you're setting up your character and different things. It kind of fools some some of the collision. Like it's not gonna be perfect. But like it's just like ragdolling. Ragdolling is like it's a separate model. It's like you gotta do, there's different things and tricks with, like with like saying like I said, I'm not trying to teach though either, but like it's this is the point. I don't want to worry about ragdolling at this point. This is just simple movement than anything else. This is nothing you want to. That's not like I said. Ragdolling is not something you want to worry about at this point. You want the character to move and move to the world and make sure that like it functions when you press the key. And horizontal and vertical key inputs are like, and you can also change them in the project settings in the input manager. Horizontal, the vertical. Negative button left, right button right. Negative button down, positive button up. All this stuff with sensitivity, and then like this you don't really get. Well, I guess it depends on the type of keyboard, touch sensitivity, or there's also your x-axis or your y-axis, or your x-axis. What's it doing? It's still got x-axis. All right. Well, it doesn't matter. You're getting the motion control sticks, keyboard and mouse, keyboard and mouse. But I can also change it to. I can change these buttons to whatever button I want. Like if I want the W, or actually the alternate ones, S and W. So you got your S, W, A, D. You got A, D right here. So that's what I'm looking for. Thing tripping out. Like I said, there's so much stuff, but you gotta. It's when you start up a game, and this is Unreal. This totally changed around an Unreal to where I think it's now. I mean, it's used to be where you go into the input settings, and then you put all your inputs in, and then you go back into the blueprints, and you find a blueprint for it and use it there. It's still the same way, but they changed that around. With Unreal 5, it get changed. I know it, but I haven't got to look at it. I have to physically see it. I know the other way. Way more. Like because I mess with Unreal 4 so much. But Unreal 5, they changed that input system. But this is basically the same thing as what you're doing in Unreal 4 or Unreal 5. Same thing, but you're accessing right here. You're setting it up. I say the same thing as blueprinting. You just calling in and but and this is just simple movement. I'm not trying to get into any something where it's like it's super hard code that or any super methods that it's pretty much preference and then determining. I mean, you'll know. But that's what you want to go in and look at the profiler, and you'll see a script section. And when the game's running, you get your analysis and scripts. And it's set at 60 frames right now. Or by automatically, there's I haven't figured out really why it does it right off the bat. But it's actually your 4,000 frames per second going up. But it's not really a good tell while you got these spikes, but that's rendering. The scripts are down, so everything's running up at the most 4,000 frames per second. Every quarter of a millisecond was what was the peak. And you'll see it right here, and it'll tell you what script was running, or how long it took. And I don't even got that. I don't even got the script set up yet. It's not even compiled in there yet. But that's the. Let me go back to the errors. Circuit compacted. There's nothing. No errors with what's going on, what I'm doing. it's slowly things like you gotta get together and set as you go. I think that should be a good gravity carrier controller. And the reason doing gravity like this, you do it through, if you added a, I guess what you call it, depending on like I said, it depends on what you're making or what you're moving. Like it's a, let's say it's an animated character, you can't have, if it's an animated character, you're using a character controller to move. If you're using, depending on if you're using physics, you're using your root motion or you're using just character controller, which is the fastest way. And then if it's animated or not, if it's animated, you still gotta have to fake gravity because even with something that's using physics, the fake gravity, anything that has an animating, if it's an animating like biped or something like that, they can't have gravity checked or it's automatically check off gravity. And that's the same thing in Unreal, where it's something that they call kinematic. If it's, that means it's animating. That it's you can't have, it's gonna have gravity off or any other type of physics off on it because it's something to do with the animation and animator and the physics. So it's not really gonna be doing the physics animations, or it's not gonna animate the physics on it. If it's depending on if it's an object that's being animated. That's why I can't use a character controller, and I do add stuff on from there, but to affect the gravity and everything with the character controller, you have to move it through the character controller. You just can't go in. You can't use the transform, and that's where people might get in a mistake. You move it by the transform on the character controller. And this is the old way. It's not using, going in and writing out a struct. You got your variables, you bake your objects, and then they're entities. So this is the old way, and it's not like using multi-threading. It's using like mostly a single thread, just like with the optimization of it. As long as it's optimized, it's gonna work. But I mean, like I said it's not using none of that. Then it's gonna be totally different anyway. So like I said, I'm not teaching anything more than you go look at it now and you look into to Unity 6. You have to get the real performance. Depending on what type of game you're trying to make, you get all the real performance out of like this engine. You want to use entities, and that's in everything you can do, and then some and more. But I mean, that's it. It's all in what you're trying to build. What are you trying to do? You have to know what you're trying to build. But then like you have to build it. Then you got to try to build it to know where all the hurdles are. I already tried a whole bunch of different builds and figure out all the different hurdles and all the troubleshooting, so I already know. But move vector 3 down. And it's like, how do I know? And then this still is a numbers game. But like I said, we're right now to vector 3. We're doing vector 3. Then you got X, Y, and Z. 3, 5, 4, or something like that. right? Or this is instead of which is down is going to be 0, comma negative 1, comma 0 is what vector 3 down is. And all those are in ones. Left, right, up, and left, right, up, and down. All in ones. It's just an even faster way to write it instead of having vector 3, 0, minus 1, comma 0. You got which is like I said, X, Y, and Z. Instead of doing all that, or you go write vector 3 down. So a negative 1 times the gravity, which is 9.8, so it makes it negative 9.8. So everything's going down at a rate of negative 9.8, the character is. And then really gravity, I want to handle it somewhere else, not really here in the player script. Like, that's the thing, it's like, but like you're just trying to quick concept. Later on, I want to grab gravity and grab anything that has like, well, I guess anything that has an animator, or to put it, depending on what it is. You put anything into like, if it's a character that that has to have gravity, you put all those in, and then you act the gravity on all those objects. If they're not using physics, if they're animating, and they're part of the game, they're or like an enemy or something like that. It's something that has to have gravity running on it. That's how you want to have it, not just written right into here, but like on quick concepting. And like I said, same thing with these public floats. I don't really want them there. I want them somewhere else. And then sometimes you don't want to hard code stuff into there. It just all depends. Like I said, it all depends on what you're doing. So, if I do this, you got the vector 3 forward times walk speed times y position times delta time. So, at one point, I don't have to worry about this not moving because it's automatically going to be 0 with nothing pressed. All the controls that run with any type of control, even joysticks, they move with 0 and 1, 0 being the center, 1, negative 1 being down, 1 being up, X, negative X being positive right, negative X being negative 1. You got negative 1, so you got positive 1, positive 1, negative 1, negative 1 on that whole axis scheme. And that's what they're moving on the axis is. On the XY axis is basically the same thing as going back to doing like geometry and stuff where you got, or with Cartesian characters, whether you're looking at your XY grab 0, 0, 0 is the center of the button. But then they have, you got like a little bit of cushion that you build, like that you put that it's got to be greater than 0.001. You got a cushion around, to actually give motion. So it's just like anything wrong with a control stick or something like that. It's not the character's not just moving on its own. So you got a cushion between 0 and the movement. Mouse and keyboard. The keyboard isn't going to move as long as it's not stuck down. So you're good with just writing. You don't have to really worry about putting any padding in between 0 and 1. But I mean, you can still go and say, I can like put this if input is greater than on axis, or whatever, then do this. But it's 0 and 1 is what's being used right now, and I really don't. I'm gonna get 1. I'm not gonna get in between nothing. It slowly goes up to 1, so I guess it's kind of touch sensitive when you look at it. If you ever if you're able to go, like say if I wouldn't go debug, log, expose. And then this will help you out doing the debugging so you know like that's the other way. You see what numbers you're doing. Normally you solve a problem, you see the numbers, see where the numbers are going. Sometimes you can see where you're messing up in the script because sometimes you might be thinking I put something there, I'm expecting these numbers, or I'm expecting it to act like a different way, but no, it's not. You go back to the numbers and say, oh, something like velocity might, as long as you're getting like a plus of one, the velocity I think is a little bit different because it's still giving direction, but you're still looking for you want the length of you want the length, the vector length, and it's coming out with a vector three. And so you're not really getting velocity. You're using it wrong or something like that. That's one of the instances where you'll know if you look at the numbers if you're using something like velocity versus or you got to do something else to actually get the actual vector length of it, which would give you one float that would give you a number that would tell you if you're going if you're the actual velocity. Like I'm not super smart, but like I understand a lot of this stuff just because I understand it. I've done it for so long. It's not because I'm super smart and I'm not on here trying to be smarter and act like I'm smarter than everybody else. There's a lot of people doing it. Just I've been doing it. I went to school for it. I'm dead set on getting it done. And working on Unreal as much as I did, hammered out all the hard details first before I came in and started messing with. All I had to do was relate scripting to what I was doing, and it's the same thing pretty much. But I don't know if it still does it like this in this mode or not. But they'll do it. I mean, there's still more to it because like even with the shadows, the stuff being static, like these are static objects. You want to have them marked as static, and then you have to care shadows or not. You have more options underneath the character. You got more options there. You got more options underneath all this. Like, there's more stuff than just messing around and making. You got a lot of stuff to get into. That's when rendering and then coming with calculation and shadows like this. Definitely don't want the ground plane casting shadow. That's the big. There's no need. It's rendering a shadow for no reason. And that's definitely static. All this stuff is static. it should work unless I'm about getting the right and left mixed up. So my forward, I can look at the sexes. Four back left and right moving circles. And then you got down here, bottom left, for a second, see it's slowly going back up and down, but so I mean it's not calculating it like that because I'm getting little taps and it's it's not doing any it's still gonna give me one for it's going up to one and comes back down, but it's just too fast to calculate it. But it's only let's say I can take the camera, parent it, but it's gonna go through things. It should go through things like right now. But you don't want it to do that. Like I said, it's gonna be forced to go through things just because the character is bound to the character. Versus if you drop center machine on it, you don't have to worry about even there's options in it for it. I'm not sitting there download center machine for the owner to show you, but that's the thing you have to worry about. Versus if I put like my own script on it, I'm not gonna sit there and keep writing scripts out and everything. I'm not gonna waste my time. I'm just making sure I know like somewhat more legit than like what I've been showing. Cause otherwise it's not I don't know, just approval. I make a game, I'm making a game, I'm making it right. Not that I'm sitting here messing around or trying to fool the crowd or fool my audience out there that like I'm giving them something no matter when I put something out it's gonna be something that's broken. I mean I went through a lot of I mean I said 2009 I've been even doing 3D. Before that was a whole bunch of art that started it because we had to do a whole bunch of advanced drawing classes and everything else before doing the actual 3D art and actually animating anything. I did hand animation first beforehand, but that's pretty much how you want to start off. I mean, this is blocking out. This is blocking out logic. But I mean, you need to walk through the level. If you're level design, I mean, if you're designing a level, I mean, it's different when you're laying out blocks. You need to see how it looks when you're moving around it. So if you're designing a level in Unity, you gotta do this from the start. This is the first thing you gotta do before you even start designing. Because if you can't walk through the level and see how it's rendering or see how the lighting's working, and then I mean, there's baked lighting that goes on with that too. But some of that stuff now you really don't have to worry about just because of the fact that like computers are getting, depending on what platform you're doing it for, and then like if it's sometimes better off and faster just to bake the lighting before you come into the game engine and bring those objects in, bring those objects in or those scenes in with the baked lighting already added to the texture work. Then you just having the baker, it's fast, it's a faster workflow that way. Than having to sit and wait for it to bake here and do more calculations. I mean, it's cutting down calculations that the game manager does, and then it's cutting down time. Or, with processing, when in here, you have to wait like an hour for, or depending on how big the level, what sections, you know, that you're baking, or what, it's just less time, it's less time consuming. If you bake it into the texture, pre-coming into the game engine, then you already have it ready, then you already have the belt, you already looked at it and walked through, but you still gotta walk through here in here. So I mean, there's still some coding and stuff you gotta know before, like you trying to design a level coming in to the game, or design a level in here, even with Unreal, it's still, I mean, you use templates too, but I try to use my own stuff just because that's more knowledge and more knowledgeable, and then it's just I'm just a person. I challenge myself. I don't try to take the easy way out on everything. That's not what I've never been able to really take the easy way out of everything anyways. So that's I've gotten lucky, but the easy way out, I've never tried to have the easy way out. And even the luck I've had, there's a consequence with it always. So I don't rely on trying to be lucky or other people trying to be anything like that. That's something I don't do. But like I said, thanks for checking it out.